Were you surprised to see Senator Heitkamp, Heidi Heitkamp in North Dakota, they're referring to there, make a decision so quickly? She opted not to support the judge. Senator Manchin responding, it's the day before the vote. I was surprised, but I think the world of Heidi. Heidi's going to make a decision that she thinks is best and what is in her heart. But again, a lot of folks are honing in on those remarks. It's helping. It's helping. Whether he finds closure with that and ultimately votes for Kavanaugh, anyone's guess right now, a good deal of scrutiny, because he would be the lone Democrat at this point who is a potential yes. The three Republicans being scrutinized right now, Susan Collins, Jeff Flake, Lisa Murkowski, all of whom I believe have had a chance to read most, if not all, of this FBI report. Access reporter Caitlin Owens on that. Caitlin, if you had to hazard a guess, and hearing what Joe Manchin was saying, leaving that room, what did you think?
You know, that is a classic Joe Manchin, to just kind of say something neutral like that and let you interpret it as you want. So, look, I think that it's hard to tell at this point. I think he could really go either way, and I think a lot of it has to do with what the Republican senators who are on the fence do, because I don't think that Manchin would want to be vote number 50, the vote that gets Kavanaugh across the finish line, but I can see him jumping on board if the Republican wavering senators do, and thus, kind of be an extra vote versus the vote.
But just to understand you clearly here, that if one of those Republican senators were to vote no, he certainly wouldn't vote yes, or would he?
I don't want to make any kind of declarative statement here and get myself in trouble, Neil.
But I think in trouble, Caitlin, if you just work with me on that.
Yeah, I think that it's less likely that he is the 50th senator.
No matter how you slice it, Caitlin, it's going to be one of the closest Supreme Court votes ever. I guess the last one would be Clarence Thomas, that was 52-48. What's remarkable about that, it's a whole Anita Hill dust up, is that he did that in a Democratic Senate and got that vote. This is a Republican Senate. So your thoughts on that?
I think that we live in a different time right now, Neil. I mean, obviously, it's an extremely partisan time. Democrats see this one way, Republicans see it the other. Democrats are on one side of this, Republicans are on the other. And also, I think that you can't ignore that this has collided. Partisan politics has collided with the Me Too movement, where it's politics and culture. And it's just, so it makes it a completely different situation where, I think both sides are really grounded on this, but then just the women's vote here, while both sides need to please their base, this is just a different time for women who are tending to lean away from Republicans.
What is maybe a final epithet on this whole process is that these friends of Brett Kavanaugh from high school had to write a letter clarifying the meaning of the term Devil's Triangle, and that it was not a sexual reference. I thought that was a metaphor for this entire thing.
I think that sounds about right. The rhetoric and the things that U.S. senators are discussing in public hearings, I can't say that we've seen anything like this in recent times. Maybe it goes back to the Clintons, right, where just describing the affair that President Bill Clinton had. But, I mean, this is just a whole other level of, while you can argue both sides, they're trying to make a case about whether or not Judge Kavanaugh is a reliable witness, whether you can trust him to tell the truth, whether his drinking habits might have led to a memory problem, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's just not a pretty time.
No, that's probably an understatement, Caitlin. Always great catching up with you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Access reporter Caitlin Owens. All right, the president is set to hold a rally tonight in Minnesota, and he might or might not comment on all of these ongoing developments here and what looks, and I stress looks, like a judge who is on his way to becoming a justice after this.
I think he's doing very well. I think he's doing very well. The judge is doing well, right? Yeah.
All right, President in Minnesota, he'll be doing a big rally tonight. Very pleased with the developments that could have Brett Kavanaugh on his way to becoming a Supreme Court justice, or voted as one on Saturday. American Majority CEO Ted Ryan, Democratic strategist Daniel McLaughlin, and Daily Mail White House correspondent Francesca Chambers. Francesca, I'm with you. Begin with you. It's looking that way. Obviously, you never say, guaranteed here because of all the other rapid turn in events. But is it your sense that those three Republican senators are all going to vote for Brett Kavanaugh?
Well, it would seem that way, but Neil, we know that anything could change between now and then, including the president's rally this evening. We know that earlier in the week there were some ruffled feathers, including among some of those people that you just named, about the impression of Christine Ford that the president did the other night. Now, granted, that's probably not going to be the thing that changes any of their minds. However, it was something that even Jeff Flake said that he was appalled by. So we'll be looking tonight to see what the president does say about Judge Kavanaugh at this rally.
Ned Ryan, would the president be well advised just to keep his comments on Dr. Ford to himself, or obviously at a rally it's very hard to do, but I mean, what do you think?
Well, I've got to agree with Ari Fleischer on this one. I don't think he mocked Dr. Ford. I think he pointed out legitimately a lot of inconsistencies and gaps, which would have been nice if more in the mainstream media would have actually been doing that, and instead of being a part of the vicious smear campaign. But really what I want him to do, Neil, tonight is really focus. Brett Kavanaugh is a phenomenally well-qualified judge. You know, he got that great rating from the American Bar Association. He's handed down over 300 opinions on the D.C. Circuit Court. I think he'll make a great justice for over 30 years on the Supreme Court. But the other thing that I really want Trump to remind people tonight is these people that have perpetuated and perpetrated this vicious smear campaign should never, ever be allowed near power. That they have a chance to vote against these people in less than 5 weeks. And to really show them, again, that this approach of rule or ruin by the Democrats should not be validated. If they're willing to destroy due process and the whole idea of presumption until innocent, I don't think they should be anywhere near power, not for a very long time, and I hope it reminds people of that tonight.
I'm sure, Danielle, you agree with that sentiment, but the issue that has come up again is that Democrats might have overplayed their hand here, and it could come back to bite them, certainly in battleground states. What do you think of that?
Well, the concern, of course, was that Senator Feinstein sat on this for too long. She says that this was about confidentiality. Others say this was to blow up the process. I think we're going to see a very, very extremely motivated Democratic base. Have you seen the women in front of the White House and the Supreme Court today?
Well, that's honestly, not all women in America, right?
No,
I don't think they're a monolithic group. It'd be like you telling me Italian-American males are all going to vote one way.
No, that's absolutely true. But I will say that white women particularly can swing elections. We have seen that white college-educated women are not in favor of Brett Kavanaugh. And I will say that the extent to which Dr. Ford's testimony resonates with anybody who had been affected by this kind of a thing, this is a he said, she said, and if you've been through this, and I have been through this, you tend to believe it.
All right.
Neil, I'm going to say this.
Francesca, the danger, and I will get to it, Ned, on the danger here is that people are going to have their opinions. It won't move many people's opinions one way or the other. If you didn't like the judge, you still don't like the judge. If you did like the judge, you still like him. So I wonder what moves here and what the impact is going to be for him. Do you think this whole issue is a midterm issue in a little more than a month?
Well, the White House is telling me that they believe it is, and what we've seen here is a big shift. The president thought that by now he'd have Brett Kavanaugh on the court and he'd be campaigning about how he got his second nominee on the court. Instead, it's turned into an issue where he's on the campaign trail, instead hitting Democrats, saying that they're obstructionist and they're trying to block his agenda simply because they don't like him, not actually based on Brett Kavanaugh's qualifications. But something else that could potentially move the Republicans and the Democrats who haven't said how they're voting yet would be personal interactions with the president. And we repeatedly asked the White House today who the president was calling, and we couldn't get names from either Sarah Sanders or Raj Shah. But they have assured reporters that the president has been making personal outreach to senators ahead of that vote.
All right. Ned, make that quick point. I'm sorry.
I want to thank the left for what they've done. Their base was already on steroids and frothing at the mouth. What they have now done is they have put the Republican base on steroids, and I think that they've now put some Senate seats, like potentially even New Jersey, into play.
New Jersey? Well, absolutely. There's a Senate battle there. Yeah, that's right. It's a single few digit gap there between the former pharmaceutical executive who's challenging Bob Menendez. All right, guys, thank you very, very much. Let's get the latest from Capitol Hill. Kristen Fisher. Kristen, what are you hearing?
Well, Neil, we're learning a lot more about this time frame and the exact times of these upcoming votes. The exact times are still in flux, but what we're hearing is that this first vote, the cloture vote, that will take place tomorrow, sometime between late morning, early afternoon. Then the second vote, the big vote, the confirmation vote, that would set it up for Saturday, and that's a time frame that the chairman of the Judiciary Committee just backed up at a press conference about 2 hours ago. He said Judge Kavanaugh should be confirmed on Saturday. So until then, what you're going to see are senators continuing to go in and out of that secure room, the SCIF, here on Capitol Hill, where the one and only copy that senators get to see of this report is being kept. Republican senators get an hour inside, then Democrats, and it'll continue like that until the vote. And one of the senators that just left, Senator Joe Manchin, he said that he's going to have to come back because this is a long report and you only got an hour inside. So, Neil, we're seeing that a lot of these senators are having to go back in multiple times to make sure they get through it.
All
Neil?
right. Thank you very, very much. We'll be watching that very closely, Kristen. So we don't know. What you know is that those three Republicans are still assessing this, reading up on it, and trying to find out. But very, very soon, we'll have an idea. The fight is now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Waters, along with Judge Jeanine Pirro, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. Fox News alert. The report is in. Senators have been reviewing the FBI's findings on Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh, and according to Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley, there's no hint of misconduct. Two key undecided GOP senators, Susan Collins and Jeff Flake, now suggesting that they are satisfied with the report. As Majority Leader